Odor-Free. Have you ever forgotten your deodorant and spent the whole day quietly panicking? Some people are blessed with the superpower to never have underarm odor because a single gene called ABCC11 simply stopped working. Talk about broken DNA that actually saves you money and social anxiety. Your armpits produce a chemical through your sweat glands that is completely odorless on its own, but skin bacteria convert it into that cheesy underarm smell everyone knows and nobody wants. A BCC11 is the protein that carries that chemical into your sweat in the first place, and in people whose ABCC11 is switched off, the chemical never shows up. No chemical, no bacteria feeding on it, no body odor. As a bonus, the same gene also gives you dry earwax, making your ear cleaning routine a breeze. One single gene, bankrupting the deodorant and Q-tip industries. Around 80 to 90% of people with East Asian ancestry have this version of the gene, and between 30 to 50% of people from South Asia, the Pacific Islands, Central Asia, and indigenous American communities have it too. This variant likely appeared around 40,000 years ago in northeast Siberia and northern China. Your ancestors adapted to extreme winters and accidentally opted out of the deodorant aisle forever. Next time you forget deodorant, do a sniff test first. Your ancestors might be sending you a message all these years. Iron gut. Whether it's a cruise ship, a school cafeteria, or your great aunt trying out a secret family recipe at a holiday dinner, there's always one or two people who walk away completely fine while the rest puke their guts out from norovirus. That might not be a coincidence. That's a gene called FUT2 giving them the superpower. Norovirus needs a specific sugar coating on your intestinal cells to grab onto and get inside. And FUT2 is the exact gene that produces the coating. People with a broken version of FUT2, called non-secretors, simply don't make the sugar at all. So when norovirus shows up, your gut is a locked door. In one study tracking real norovirus outbreaks, every single symptomatic case came from people with a working FUT2. Non-secretors? 0 cases. Turns out a broken gene is as effective as a bouncer. What's even more impressive, multiple genetic ancestries independently evolved their own FUT2 mutations. About 20% of people with European roots are non-secretors. So if your ancestors are Anatolian farmers, there's a real chance norovirus has been bouncing off your gut wall your whole life. For those with Bangladeshi ancestry, that number jumps to an incredible 40%. And if your roots are in sub-Saharan Africa, your population evolved its own completely separate version, different ancestries all united by the same bathroom problems. There are some trade-offs though. Non-secretors have an increased risk of autoimmune disease like Crohn's and type 1 diabetes, so your intestinal bouncer keeps out the worst guests, but has questionable judgment about everything else. Next time you see someone turning a trip to the bathroom into an extended stay while you're chugging a warm shrimp cocktail, you know exactly who to thank. Built for carbs. Before you even swallow a bite of bread, your saliva has already started breaking it down. That's a gene called AMY1 doing its job, and depending on your ancestry, yours might be doing it way better than average. AMY1 controls how much salivary amylase your mouth produces, the enzyme that starts breaking down starch the moment food hits your tongue. Think of it like a prep kitchen that runs before the main kitchen even opens. Most people have somewhere between 2 and 15 copies of this gene, and the more copies you have, the more amylase you produce. More amylase means faster starch breakdown, faster energy release, and a gut that has a head start before the food even arrives. Your body figured out how to speed-run digestion, while your gluten-free friends are quietly seething. If your ancestors were farmers in the Middle East, East Asia, South Asia, or Europe, you're more likely to carry higher AMY1 copies. Their dinner menu was written directly into your DNA. Turns out 10,000 years of eating bread does show in your body. The problem is that high AMY1 copies work best when you're actually eating starch. Pair the gene with a low-carb diet, and the advantage mostly disappears. Your prep kitchen fully staffed for a dinner that never comes. Free fish oil. If you're taking fish oil supplements every morning, there's a good chance your DNA already had a plan, one that your ancestors spent thousands of years optimizing based on what they ate. The group of FADS genes controls enzymes that convert basic plant fats into the healthy fats your brain and heart actually run on. Your body can't make these from nothing. It either gets them pre-built from fish and meat or builds them from plants. Some people's FADS variants are highly efficient converters, basically running a full in-house production line. If you come from a family with West African or South Asian roots, where plant-based diets were the norm for thousands of years, there's a 70 to 80% chance that your FADS genes are running the full production line. If you're of Greenlandic Inuit ancestry, your body went the opposite direction entirely to dial down the conversion process. Because when you're eating seal and salmon for every meal, you don't need to convert extra fat. Why bother running a full production line when the finished product is served on a plate? But here's the uncomfortable modern twist. High conversion variants paired with modern seed oils, which are loaded with a type of fat called omega-6 that your body overproduces when it gets too much, can flood the production line and cause inflammation throughout your body. Turns out, your ancestors already figured out your supplement schedule for you. The calendar just took 10,000 years to arrive. Milkaholic. Don't feel bad about saying no to ice cream for dessert when you're out with a group of friends. You're actually the normal one in your group. Most adults on the planet can't digest dairy properly, and the ones who can are walking around with a genetic mutation their ancestors earned by herding cattle for thousands of years. The gene is called LCT, and it controls lactase, an enzyme that breaks down the sugar in milk called lactose. Every human makes it as a baby. Most people's bodies shut off lactase production after childhood, which is the original factory setting. The human body assumed you'd stop drinking milk after infancy, and look where we are now. But some people have a variant that keeps lactase running into adulthood, meaning they can drink milk, eat cheese, and finish pints of ice cream without their gut staging a protest. That group is called lactase persistent, and it just means their body keeps digesting dairy like a baby, but make that a compliment. Herding communities in Northern Europe hit the genetic jackpot here. Scandinavians carry it above 90%. Cattle farmers in East Africa and the Middle East carry their own versions through completely separate mutations that evolved independently, a phenomenon called convergent evolution. Evolution basically looked at 3 groups of cattle herders across 3 different continents and had the exact same idea each time. Who knew evolution was so unoriginal? But if you're of East Asian or indigenous American ancestry, the ice cream party was never meant for you. Diabetes shield. Imagine eating all the cakes and sugary sweets in the world without worrying about getting diabetes. That only happens in fairy tales. The closest thing to that fantasy is a broken gene called SLC30A8, and some people in Western Finland are already living it. SLC30A8 normally moves zinc into the cells that produce insulin to bring down your blood sugar. When insulin gets released, zinc comes out too and acts like a brake pedal. It slows down further insulin release, but when SLC30A8 stops working, there's less zinc acting as a brake. So your cells release more insulin when your blood sugar goes up, which helps keep your blood sugar under better control. A gene that breaks in exactly the right way, in exactly the right place. Even evolution knows how to fail upwards. Scientists found that Western Finns carry this exact broken version of SLC30A8 that lowers their risk of developing type 2 diabetes by a whopping 65%. Western Finland has a population smaller than most mid-sized cities, and they accidentally handed the rest of the world a potential diabetes cure, because thousands of years of this small, isolated population passing this lucky gene through generations, this specific anti-diabetes variant is almost entirely absent outside of Western Finland. If Western Finland is anywhere in your family tree, there's a real chance this broken gene came with it. Scientists are now using this discovery to build drugs designed to break SLC30A8 on purpose, to help everyone else not blessed with this genetic superpower escape the curse of type 2 diabetes. Sometimes the greatest gift your ancestors gave you wasn't land, money, or good looks. It was a broken pancreas gene from a tiny town in Finland. No sweat. If you're the person at the gym who's barely sweating while everyone around you looks like they just jumped in a pool, that might be a gene called EDAR, giving you more sweat glands than the average person gets at birth. EDAR controls how your body builds its outer structures during development, and one version called V370A cranks the signal up specifically in your eccrine sweat glands, the ones that cool you down by releasing sweat through your skin. More glands means your body can dump heat faster, more evenly, and more efficiently during exercise or humid weather, like upgrading from 1 fan to 3 AC units while everyone else is still waiting for a breeze. The same gene also quietly decided your hair would be thicker and coarser than average. It's basically a buy one, get one free deal, and you didn't even have to haggle. If your ancestry traces back to East Asia or indigenous communities in the Americas, there's a very good chance you're carrying V370A. It shows up in roughly 80% of Koreans and Japanese and is virtually absent in European and African populations. It likely arose around 30,000 years ago in central China, Someone in ancient China won the genetic lottery and just kept passing it down. Whether the cooling advantage drove that spread, the thick hair that's viewed as more attractive, or something else entirely, scientists genuinely have no idea. Evolution didn't leave a note. Next time you're the only dry person after finishing a 10K race, your ancestors deserve a standing ovation. Natural space heater. You're the kid who used to come to school in shorts every day, even if there was over 1.5 feet of snow. You never wore a puffer jacket and would throw on a hoodie just to make your parents shut up. If you weren't pretending and trying to impress people, you might actually be blessed with a superpower, all thanks to a gene called UCP1. UCP1 runs a furnace inside your special fat cells called brown fat, whose entire job is burning energy as heat. People with more active versions of UCP1 produce more heat automatically, which in a cold environment is less of a party trick and more of a survival mechanism because your ancestors didn't have the North Face. If your roots trace back to Siberia, Northern Europe, or indigenous Arctic communities, there's a good chance your UCP1 got tuned up specifically for the cold. Across populations worldwide, the high-activity version of this gene is almost non-existent near the equator and gets dramatically more common the further north you go, a trail left by thousands of years of harsh winters that had absolutely no mercy. The ones who didn't stay warm didn't get a say in the matter. Goes on to show that your ancestors didn't just prepare you for the cold, they also saved you thousands of dollars on winter gear. Built for altitude. You fly into Denver, the mile-high city, excited to hit the slopes for the first ski trip this year, but your head is already pounding before you even reach the mountains. Don't worry, you're not passing out from overexcitement. Your body's just not used to the thin air. When there's less oxygen in every breath at high altitude, most people's bodies respond by producing extra red blood cells to compensate. This sounds like a smart strategy until your blood gets thick enough to strain your heart. Two genes, EGLN1 and EPAS1, control the alarm system that triggers this make more red blood cells response. Tibetans and Andean Highlanders both carry special versions of these genes that keep the alarm from overreacting, letting their bodies stay calm at elevations that leave everyone else dazed and confused from altitude sickness. The details differ. Tibetans tend to keep red blood cell production low and steady, while Andeans remodel their heart and blood vessels to handle the pressure directly. But both populations landed on the same two genes after tens of thousands of years, living above 3,500 meters. Evolution saw the same problem across the world and landed on two different solutions. Turns out all mutations lead to living better at high altitudes. If your ancestry traces back to the Tibetan Plateau or the Andes, your body may already be running altitude training that lowlanders pay thousands of dollars and weeks of misery to copy. And you didn't have to do anything but exist. Migraine Proof. If you've never had to cancel your plans, hide under the covers in a dark room and pray for the sweet release of sleep while everyone around you is destroyed by migraines, that might be a gene called TRPM8, quietly keeping your pain system on mute. TRPM8 is your body's cold sensor. It fires when temperatures drop, yelling at your brain that there's something cold and painful. Most people have a version of this gene that is sensitive enough that grabbing a cold drink or stepping outside in January registers immediately, but some people carry a version that turns the thermostat down, requiring significantly colder temperatures before the sensor fires. And here's the part that nobody saw coming. TRPM8 turns out to also influence how likely your nervous system is to trigger migraines. Less cold, less pain, less migraines. What an evolutionary upgrade. Trace your roots back to West Africa, and the low sensitivity version of TRPM8 is significantly more likely to be yours. And honestly, why would you need a hair trigger cold alarm when it never drops below 50 degrees? Meanwhile, Northern Europeans got stuck with the opposite. A cold sensor so sensitive it also picks up migraines as a bonus feature. In this case, it's really more of a bug than a feature. Up to 88% of Finnish people have this version, and it's likely that feeling cold more acutely helped ancestors avoid dangerously cold exposure. West Africans got fewer migraines. Northern Europeans got better cold warnings. Evolution thought that was a fair trade. But which one would you rather have? If you liked this video and want to learn more about the human body, check out these other videos.